Well, thanks again for having me back up here. Once again, thanks to Dan and Adam. I am going to attempt to talk less today. I was told by the man in the front row that I talked too much yesterday and the players were not active enough. So I'm going to attempt to make them more active today and to talk less, but my topic really is about talking. So it's going to be somewhat of a challenge not to give too much explicit information and try to make most of it implicit. So in my practices and when I'm teaching players and so on and so forth, my goal is to talk as little as possible, but as much as necessary. All right, so I want, as much as possible, I want to let them go, set up the drill, whatever, and let them go, let them self-correct, let them figure things out for themselves. But then I want to give them the feedback or the information that I think they need when it's necessary. So it's not a matter of just allowing them to play and do whatever they want, but it is attempting to really reduce and delay the feedback that I give. All right, so where to start? One of the key things I think with sports in general, but especially with youth players, is motivation. And the idea often is that we need to motivate players. And instead, the idea from the self-determination theory and the guys that wrote that paper, I can't think of their names right now, but their idea was people, and especially children in a sport, they come to the activity already motivated. All right, and now, I think this has changed a little bit over the years because, players are starting younger and younger to the point where they're probably not actually making the choice to participate in an activity anymore. It's often, a parent placing them in an activity at a really young age. But traditionally, if a boy comes out and wants to play basketball, he is motivated to play basketball. He's there for a reason. All right, so instead of thinking about how can we motivate this player, we need to make sure that we're not reducing or taking away the motivation that they bring with them to the activity. Okay, I think that somewhat changes a little bit how we approach things, how we instruct, and so on and so forth. Again, like I mentioned, this self-determination theory, that is the primary motivational theory that, I like and accept and use. Basic idea being that we're motivated by autonomy, competence, and then relatedness or belonging. Okay, so autonomy, that means giving players a choice. All right, and many of the things we do, I try to incorporate a choice for the players, give them some control of their own environment, whether that's from, when we decide our team rules at the beginning of the year, that's letting them decide our team rules. Okay, going out, road trips, going out to meals, I try to give them the choice of where we're going to go. All right, sometimes I have to restrict it for budget reasons or whatever and give them, okay, here's your 3 options. Okay, but I'm trying to give them choice, okay, and some control over what they do. When we do, drills like we're going to do in a second, all right, most of the time, I'm asking them, I'm not telling them exactly what to do. I'm putting them in and giving them the choice of what they want to practice. When I do individual workouts with players, they have to tell me what they want to work on. All right, I'm trying to involve them in all of the decisions within the team. Okay, competence is largely why we come to practice. Players want to improve. Players want to get better. All right, part of getting better, part of improving is making it enjoyable so that they want to do it more. So if we can create an environment within practice that really retains their motivation, they enjoy it, they think it's fun, well, now they want to practice on their own. They want to get in the gym more. I mean, I can almost tell you who on my team at my level will get 4-year scholarships just by who wants to be in the gym more. And in most cases, they're the ones that are internally motivated still. They're the ones that just really enjoy playing basketball. They think coming in the gym and shooting 200, 400 shots, that's fun for them. I had a player last year, I think she was probably, well, at least one D1 coach called her the best shooter in the country. It's debatable whether she was the best shooter on my team, but I asked her around her birthday last year, I asked her what she was going to do, what she wanted to do for fun, and we'd always joke that I was going to add practice on their birthdays to make them come to school and stuff. And she's like, yeah, I want to get in the gym, I want to shoot. That's what she thinks is fun. That's what she wanted to do. A perfect day for her was being in the gym and shooting, and then probably going to the beach after. All right? So those are the players that ultimately are going to go on. So if we can maintain that motivation, all right, it helps with all the instruction then that we're going to give, the feedback, etc. All right? So let's get you guys doing something, all right? You guys ready? Yes? We'll start simply. Let me get 2 lines in the corner. The inside line, you guys have balls. Outside line, no balls. So inside line at the 3-point line, outside line on the sideline. Guys, inside line, 3-point line, outside line, sideline. All right. With the ball, you're dribbling around the inside cone, going to score. Without a ball, around the outside line. You're going to, once you get around the cone, then you can play defense. Understood? Yes? No? Yes? In the back, we good? All right. Stop. Now, number 1. Next group. Next group goes when the ball hits the rim or the backboard. Yes? All right, so I will start the first group. I'm not starting anybody else. Good? Ready, set, go. Cheater. Oh, stop. Hold up. My fault. All right. So, first thing that I want to make clear, all right, there's a difference between explaining a drill and explaining the skill. All right? I set them up in a drill. I told them how the drill works, more or less. Okay, I have said nothing about any skills whatsoever. All right, oftentimes we spend a lot of time explaining drills, and then players stop listening, and we never actually get to explaining the actual skill that we're trying to coach or teach or improve within that drill. This is why I favor very simple drills, because I would prefer to spend more of the time active or more of the time focused on the skill as opposed to seeing if we can remember how to do a complicated drill. All right? So that's the first thing. Now, if I wanted to use this to teach something specific, all right? How many of you are there? Like 16, 15, 18? All right. Let's say there's 18 of you. 16 of you basically did the same thing, correct? What kind of layup did you guys shoot? Not all at once. Come on, guys. Take your time. Are you going to give a high five? Right hand. What foot did you jump off of? Okay. Yes. For all but 2 of you. That is correct, I believe. We can look at the tape later. All right? So, and that's normal. The first thing players learn how to do, okay, is shoot a right hand jumping off their left foot. Now, 2 of you did it differently. Do you guys know who did not shoot a layup in that manner? I'm pretty sure I remember. Is anybody going to admit to not shooting a left foot right-handed layup? Anyone? Third person in line, I know it was you. And then it was either the person behind you or the person 2 behind you. It's one of you 2. I can't remember which one. All right? What did you do? Do you remember? I'm putting you on the spot. Yes. Confidence in your answer. What did you do? Say it confidently. Do you know what that's called? Okay. So, because you're hiding behind all the people, so the fans in the stands can't see your answer. So demonstrate for us what you did. Yes. Okay. So, again, let's say there's 18 of them, 16 of them shot this way. He and a friend shot. Again. Very good. All right. A goofy foot layup. Jumping off the same foot, same hand. Now, thank you. You can go back with your friends. Now, first thing. Many players, when they show up for their first day of basketball, will shoot a goofy foot layup. They will jump off their right foot. They will shoot with their right hand. Many people, and if you listen to any NBA broadcast, will call this a wrong foot layup. Personally, I dislike that terminology because what is wrong about it? The ball went in the basket. I know he made his. Okay? If I need to go off my right foot to make the layup and score against a bigger defensive player, which is who he was up against, what's wrong about that? All right? So that's the first thing. Okay? To me, terminology, language matters. Okay? Ultimately, this is a move. I was at an NBA practice. Okay? One of the player development coaches, he's now a head coach, but one of the coaches who is recognized as being one of the best player development coaches in the NBA, he's working with a point guard on being able to shoot this exact layup. So traditionally, we spend years and years trying to get players not to shoot jumping off their right foot, okay, because this is the correct way. And then as they get older, we're like, oh, no, yeah, you probably need that shot in your arsenal. Let's go back. Let's try to reteach this and do it the way that you did when you first started playing basketball. All right? So, again, language matters. There is nothing wrong with jumping off your right foot using your right hand. However, if you're trying to work on something specific, okay, then it might be the wrong time. So if you wanted all of these players to work on a specific shot, within this drill. Okay, you could use the same drill, and now you could address the skill that they were doing in their next repetitions. So I let all of them get through one repetition, all right, so that they could get the drill down so we didn't have to worry about where to go and stuff like that. All right, and so now we can address the skill. Okay, so this time, okay, when you finish, excuse me, you have to do something different than you did last time. Does that make sense? Yes? Are we good? Questions? Comments? Concerns? Again, I start the first group, everybody else on the backboard. Ready, set, go. Eyes up on the dribble. Stop. He got it. You can go to the front of the line again. It's okay. All right. So, what did you guys do differently this time? So first of all, who was the one player who didn't do something differently? Not what you did. Oh, that was the difference? What, you jumped higher? Okay. All right. I'll give it to you. So what did you guys do differently this time? Reverse. What else? What? Yes, you were the only one, correct? That was you? Yes. So one person jumped off 2 feet. Okay, several reverse layups. Now, who ended up making the wrong choice on their shot because they were trying to do what I encouraged them to do? You? Good answer. Not what I was thinking of, but good answer. Okay? So he said it would have been easier just to make the easy right-hand layup instead of, what'd you do, a reverse layup? Yeah, instead of making a reverse layup. Okay, good answer. Okay, you got blocked, right? No. Didn't you get your shot blocked? No? Or it was fairly well defended? Who did? All right, so there's one player who went for a reverse layup, and the defense was already guessing that's where he was going. All right? So sometimes that constraint or trying to explore and do something new ends up leading to a bad decision in the context of just trying to make that shot. All right? All right, you've shot 2 layups now. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, you have to do something different again. All right? Ready, set, go. Ooh. Nice. Okay, so what do we add this time that we hadn't done before? What? We got the ball stolen? Let's look at the positives. Anyway, what did we add that nobody had done before? What? Okay, so was that you inside hand? So on the right side you used your left hand? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, you went to the left. Oh, somebody did that last time too. Floater. Yeah, inside hand layup. Okay, what did we also, I can't remember who it was, but somebody came left. We had a goofy foot on the left side, right? Anybody want to take credit for that? You'll take credit? Yeah? All right. So now, we've gone through this 3 times, okay, and we've practiced different layups. Okay, just by forcing them or asking them, and this is what I do almost any time that we do layup drills, okay? The basic instruction is you can't do the same layup twice in a row, okay? Or if we're going to do, I'll tell them ahead of time, you know, we're going to do it 3 times, you need to do 3 different layups, okay? So we're always trying to vary the shots that we take. All right, now, without thinking about it, how has that changed how you guys are going around the cone? Do you guys notice anything differently about how you're attacking? Okay. So if you're thinking too much or unsure of what you're going to do, it slows your speed. Good answer. Anybody else? There's no wrong answers here. All right, I'm going to give you guys a second to think about it. I'm going to go back to the crowd. All right, so I tend to ask questions of players. Typically, I warn players ahead of time. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. All right, to me, so some players, you know, especially in a clinic situation like this where I'm going to work with the players one time or something, I don't know the players, they will see questions as an attack, if you will. I'm not trying to attack them. I'm trying to see what they're thinking and see how I can help them. All right, rather than telling them all the answers, I'm going to ask questions to try to get them to come up with the answers themselves. Because they're with, whatever, 16, 18 of them, they're going to be able to come up with things that I haven't thought of. All right, so if I'm thinking of one thing, and that's the only thing that I instruct, now we might miss out on the answers. I wasn't thinking about, you know, the overthinking causing them to slow their speed. Okay, so now that's something that we can address. All right, you guys got some answers for me now? Yes. Good. Okay, so one thing that changed is some of them came around the cone tighter. Okay, they knew they were going to go to the left side. That's how they were going to change their layup. So they changed how they went around the cone, all right, and came tighter to get back to the left side. I think it was you. What did you do differently on the last one? Yes, you. Do you know what you did? I think it was you. Because you were the left. You came with the inside hand layup, right? Do you know what you did differently? Opposite. What? Did anybody see what he did? Did his defender see what he did? All right. So again, I'm not, who didn't turn their phone off? Not 100% sure it was you, but one of you went wider to set up to come in with the inside hand layup. All right, so by changing the layup that we're going to shoot, we're going to change, okay, how we're moving with the dribble. All right, let's go one last time, okay? You got to do something you haven't done yet. Ready, set, go. Good. So what happened that time? What did we do? Okay, we had one jump stop, correct? Oh, you went off 2 feet? Oh, yeah, one person, I think. What else? What did you guys add this time? Put it this way, were you shooting easier shots or harder shots than your first layup? What? Harder. Why? What? You're not shooting? Okay. You're not used to shooting that kind of layup? Okay. Why else? You what? You already did the easy ones? That's a debatable point. Okay? Now, I would agree that is why in your minds you did it. All right? But we've gone 4 times. I believe no more than 3 or 4 people have stopped on 2 feet to shoot. Does that make sense? Which means most of you still have what many would consider the easiest layup of just stopping on 2 feet and making a layup. Right? So, I believe it was last time I was here when I worked with the guys in the player clinic. We did something similar and had the same result. I asked them, that time it was you couldn't do the same layup as a person, so it was just, there was no defense, and I think there was a line of 10 players. You can't do the same layup as somebody's already done. And so the layups got harder and harder. We got to the point where we're doing 360 layups, and we forgot many of the simple ones. Basic reverse layup, basic inside hand layup. All right? So sometimes, okay, their creativity will take over. They'll start doing things that you may not have thought of, and you may not necessarily want to practice. Okay? And that gives you the opportunity to come in, all right, this time, guys, last repetition, everybody's going off 2 feet. Okay? You can shoot any layup you want, you just got to stop on 2 feet. Ready, set, go. Good answer. Now that you knew you had to go off 2 feet, how did that change what you did? Okay, it took more time. So because you were taking more time, what did many of you do? Okay, we had pump fakes this time. What else did we have? What do you got for me? You're demonstrating back there. What do you got? Okay, you created contact. What else? Where did you create contact? Where? Right at the basket? Where else? A couple of the early ones. Yeah, as soon as you got around the cone, 1 or 2 of you made sure that you got your body into the defender to protect it and then separate it away. Okay, to create more time. Anybody else? What did you kind of do? No. And then you kind of step through, right? Okay, so you had a pump fake with a little bit of a step through. Okay, so just by changing the instructions in terms of the layup, now a lot of them adapted different strategies off the dribble. Okay, in order to get that layup. All right, so instead of me telling them, all right, I want you to make sure that you do this on the dribble, we changed the end goal. Okay, and give them the freedom to figure out how they're going to get to that goal. Each of them has different strengths and weaknesses. Each needs to figure out, in my matchup here, what can I do? How can I score against this kind of player? For some of them, that's speed. For some of them, that's using their body. For some of them, that's pump faking. There's no right answer. All right, most of them scored most of the time, as it should be. It's a layup drill. They have an advantage. They should score. Okay? But simply by forcing them to try different things, okay, now we've gone through a number of different layups in defensive situations. Okay, we've changed how we're dribbling the ball. We're changing how we're using our body getting to the basket. All in one simple drill that took about 30 seconds to set up originally. All right, you guys sit down for a second, please. So along with motivation, 2 of the key things that we want to think about in terms of how we direct our instruction and feedback is the intention and attention of players. So intention is kind of more based on the future, okay? So that would be more with, planning the action, okay? More with the instructions that I'm going to give. All right. Attention is in the present, or what the player's actually attending to as they're making their move or shooting the shot. All right. So in this case, I didn't do much to direct their attention, specifically with regards to this shot. There was nothing, make sure you hit the square, make sure you have the ball in your hand in this way. All right, most of the instructions were geared towards changing their intention. Okay, so as they were planning, they could think about what they're doing because they couldn't do the same move that they had already done. All right, often when we give instructions, it affects how players pay attention to the environment and or the task that they're involved in. All right, so when you're teaching, let's do this. One of you, who wants to come out? One player, come on. 3, 2, 1. Thank you. With the ball, please. Shoot a free throw. Please. Good. Shoot one more. Oh, better. All right, good shot. Now, if he had missed, okay, which I don't want to keep having him shoot until he misses, all right? So you're good, okay? If he had missed, there are some very common instructions and feedback that you hear for shooters during games. Most specifically, anytime a player misses short, you inevitably hear a parent or coach yell, "Bend your knees." Knee bend may or may not have anything to do with the missed shot, but it is pretty much the go-to, be-all instruction. Ball hits the front of the rim, bend your knees. And if you're not saying bend your knees, you're probably saying follow through. Okay, those seem to be the two instructions that will fix all shooting problems. Bend your knees more, follow through. All right, I related the story yesterday. My player that I worked with one time came out, free throws, couldn't make them, came to me, shot a free throw, he's almost falling forward. He was bending his knees so much that he couldn't even stay on balance. It wasn't that he didn't bend his knees, it's that he didn't know how to bend his knees correctly. All right? So, it's not always the answer to the problem. From an instructional standpoint, it's somewhat of an incorrect cue. Now, there is a time and a place for everything. If it works, it works. All right, but from a motor learning perspective, you're directing attention to the wrong place. All right, study after study have shown that on a continuum from an internal to an external focus, players are going to learn and perform better and retain the skill and perform under pressure better with external focus of attention, or instruction that causes an external focus of attention. So if he had missed and he hit the front of the rim, and the ball didn't have a lot of arc, rather than saying bend your knees as an attempt to try to get him to shoot the ball higher, I would want to focus his attention away from his body. Bend your knees or keep your elbow in. Now I've changed my focus and I'm thinking about, well, where's my elbow as I shoot? Where's my knees? Am I bending far enough? And now I've started to a conscious control of my movement. It's going to be slower, it's going to be less consistent. If instead I say something like, get more air under the ball, I'm trying to achieve the same goal. But now I've given the player the freedom to solve the problem. How is he going to get more air under the ball? Is he going to bend his knees more? Is he going to change his release slightly? Is he going to push more from his feet? Okay, now I've allowed the player to come up with a solution. Okay, they're going to potentially experiment with different ways to shoot the ball higher. And through that experimentation, hopefully they find one that fits. So, as I talked about yesterday, give me one other player. Please? Not all at once, just one. Any one of you. There we go. Ball. Gracias. Free throw line. Actually, you can shoot from wherever you want. I want you, no. I want you to shoot as flat as you possibly can. I don't want you to airball. I want you to shoot as flat as you can. There you go. Again, please. You got to make it. As flat as you can. Yes, please. Now you can already see how this is changing how he wants to shoot the ball. Go one more. All right. Now I want you to shoot as high as you can while trying to make it. Now, one thing you can see is these instructions expose errors that are probably there when he shoots normally, but Dave talked about that, so I'm not going to go into the shooting part. Ooh, there you go. One more. Oh, my fault. One more. There you go. Now, shoot one regularly. Just make the shot. There you go. Ooh. Don't listen to your friends. There you go. Oh. Good. Good job. All right, so the goal is, for me, when a player has, some kind of error, if I see that they're either shooting the ball too flat, they're shooting the ball too high, as I have a couple players that have really high arcs that probably need to get them lower, is giving them both exaggerating that mistake and then also shooting at the exaggerated other end. Let them feel what it is to shoot with a flatter shot. Let them feel what it is to shoot with a much higher shot. And then within that range, they can see where is it comfortable, where do they feel more successful. All right, I have a player this year that, she had been told, bend your knees. You got to shoot the ball higher. And once I kind of gave her the freedom, no, just don't bend your knees, okay? Just shoot the ball. It gave her the freedom to try something else. And now she's found a shot that works for her a little bit better, all right? So ultimately, when we give feedback, we want to focus on the goal of the movement. Okay, so within shooting, within most things, it's going to be putting the ball in the basket. All right? Let's go 2 lines over here. Half of you with balls, half of you without balls. All right. So, line here with balls, line without balls next to them. All right? You're going to be offense, you're on defense, you're going to stand behind, you're going to pass it. So you're going to be here. I'm going to pass it around, and then I'm playing defense, you're going. Okay? You're on offense, you're on defense, you're going to stand behind him, you're going to give him the ball, either direction. You're going to score, I'm going to play defense. Yes? Yes? Go. Next. All right, stop. You started, right? All right. So what's the goal? Score. Good. So how are we scoring? Okay. So you're trying to get a layup. Correct? Okay. What kind of layup? What'd you say? Easy. What makes it easy? Open. How are you getting yourself open? Creating space. Good. How are you creating space? Okay, so for one or two of you, okay, it was using your body. When? No, but like you've got whatever. Yeah, but when you, whatever, you're running 50 feet, when did you use your body? Okay, so some of you early, some of you before you got to the rim, some of you, yes, on your shot, you tried to use your body, not very effectively. Okay, what else did you guys do? So you used your body, what else? What? Yeah, blow past them, speed. Okay, good. Go one more time, please. Somebody go, or we're just going to stop. All right, that's good. So, what did we add this time? So before we used our body early, we used our body in the middle, we used our body at the rim, we used speed. What do we use this time? Pump fake. Okay, jump stop and a pump fake, that was one. What else did we use? What did we have to do a couple times because we can't do a simple handoff here? Moves? Yes. We made some moves. Anything else that we did this time that was different? Again, what was the goal? Score. All right? So, the initial instruction is simply to score. All right? They figure out multiple ways that fits for them. All right? The converse would be making the drill a little bit less competitive and maybe, all right, so give me two of you, please. Two of you down here, one ball. So, like you're going to that basket down there, scoot over so we don't run into your friends. Come here. Come closer. Yeah. All right, so I want you, start on his shoulder. Okay? And I want you, okay, to use your body to make sure that he can't get all the way in front of you. Okay, you're going to use your body. Yes? All right, go. All right, so that would be the converse, okay, where we do a, similar drill, but I only give them one option. So we're going to work on one specific thing, and I'm telling them exactly what to do. All right? But that may not be the most, so you, and the one right behind you. You two, come here. Yeah. Goofy foot. You get the ball. Goofy foot gets the ball first. All right? You guys are doing the same thing. Okay? You have to use your body, okay, to protect the ball and beat him down the court. Okay? You're allowed to bump and be physical. Yes? Go. All right, now. Okay? I'm limiting what he's allowed to do and probably putting him in a disadvantageous position. Now we have a small, so far has looked like a pretty quick, pretty fast player up against a bigger player and basically telling him you have to try to outmuscle the bigger player. All right, now, there may be a time where we want to make sure that each player can do each thing. Okay, but we have to understand the ramifications of our instructions that we're giving to players. Are we intentionally limiting them because maybe we want to work on a perceived weakness? Or are we creating and limiting players because we're trying to pigeonhole them into doing one specific thing instead of using a multitude of different options that they could use, all right, to score in this situation. All right, you guys can sit down for a second. Let's go. So within feedback to players, all right, there are 5 major traps that coaches tend to fall into. All right. First is the thinking that more is always better. I went and watched a college practice several years ago when I enrolled in school. It was an individual workout. There were 2 players working out. There were at least 19 other people on the court. Assistant coaches had assistants. I knew, well, I learned slightly after this, the players did not like the coaches. All right? The workout that I saw, every time a player did something, every coach on that basket was giving feedback. Okay, so player took one shot, Assistant coach told him he needed to shoot it higher. The assistant coach's assistant told him that he needed to change his footwork. The director of basketball told him, they needed to run faster. Everybody had something to say. And then, later in the semester, when the players on the team was in the class that I was teaching and I found out they couldn't stand the coaching staff, and I reflected back to that workout, like, well, of course. Like, who wants to be told 8 to 10 times on the one repetition that you're doing it wrong? All right, add that up on a half hour of work, and you've now basically received 1,000 criticisms in a half hour. Who enjoys that? Who's able to use that information? Even if every single one of those criticisms or critiques or coaching or feedback, whatever you want to call it, even if every one of them was 100% correct, how is that player supposed to use 1,000 pieces of information in a half hour? All right. One, it doesn't help make any changes. You end up trying to do too many things and can't do anything well. And two, it becomes demotivating. Again, as I started with, the first thing we need to do is make sure that we don't ruin the player's intrinsic motivation that they bring with them to the activity. That changed their motivation. Those players were no longer there because they wanted to be there, because they wanted to get better, because they wanted to have professional basketball careers. They were there because their coach was forcing them to be in the gym working out with them. They're two different things. You might do the exact same workout, but that player wants to be there. That player is driven to be there. That player feels like they have some choice or some autonomy in being there. They're going to perform better. They're going to practice better. Ultimately, they're going to learn more than if they're there because they feel like they're forced to be there by their coach. All right? The second part of that was every single time there was immediate feedback. Now, in coaching and literature, immediate feedback tends to be positively associated with learning. But on the flip side, reduced and delayed feedback also has been shown to improve transfer and retention. So I did a workout one time with a high school player and a college player who I'd known for a while, who was trying to make a decision of whether or not he wanted to keep trying to be a college player or whether he was going to give it up and become a coach. And so we're working out, and it was the first time I worked with a high school player. And we were focusing on shooting. And I was just making one simple correction, and I let everything else go. And so afterwards, I spoke with the college player, asked him what he thought. He's like, it was good, but I like working out with this other guy because he stops every single mistake. I was all right, but he's like, you let him travel. He was traveling on shot. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm working on shooting. He's like, yeah, but he's traveling. I was like, yeah, if I stopped every single mistake that you guys made, in an hour, we would have had 15 or 20 repetitions. All right, welcome. So he ended up giving up playing in college and became a coach, took over a junior varsity team, and he emails me about 6 months later in the middle of the season. All right, I get it. I understand what you were talking about. You can't correct everything every single time, or you'll never get anything done, especially with youth players. Okay? If every time, in the layup drills, every time they didn't do the exact, right hand left foot finish and we stopped and we re-explained and we re-demonstrated, nope, this is a proper layup, never get through that drill. Okay? You know, I prefer to delay my feedback. So I'll wait through, like with them, let them go through. Everybody had a repetition. Then we talked about it. Okay? Other methods are, especially in a more individual workout, would be self-controlled feedback. So you only give feedback when the player asks for it. You know, so instead of having 8 coaches out here, you know, yelling at one player, correcting every single repetition, you wait. I tend to do that in my individual workouts. I have players who are used to coaches giving feedback on every single repetition, and they just start looking at me. And I just look back. Did I do this right? Yeah. Or, you know, try this. Okay, but they've become so accustomed to getting feedback every single time that they do something. You know, so I try to give players the opportunity. You know, one kind of general rule that I've used is, you know, give them 3 chances. Okay, so give them 3 if you're trying to get them to change something on their shot or, you know, do a dribble move or whatever. Let them do it 3 or 4 times before you step in with the next piece of instruction. See if they can figure it out. Because if you're asking somebody to, here, one of you come out, please, with a ball. I want you to dribble in. You're going to make a triple move, so 3 moves back to back, and then you're going to make a layup. Faster. Nice. All right. So if he comes out, okay, and on the first one, okay, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. Let's say I didn't want him to go behind the back, and he went behind the back, so I stop him, and you can sit down, okay? Thank you, well done. You guys' demonstrations are too good. You're not giving me the mistakes that I want to work with here, okay? So I guess that's good for you guys, all right? So if he comes out and, you know, he understood it pretty quickly, surprisingly so, actually, all right? But, you know, if he comes out and doesn't quite get it, and then I stop him and re-instruct, and then he doesn't quite get it, all right? Give him a couple times. He'll figure it out, okay? Just like he got it quickly, all right? The next player, it might take him 2 times, and then they can get it. All right? But if you step in automatically, all right, you reduce the time on task. You end up talking a lot. All right? And it may or may not further their understanding. All right. So the second trap is offering feedback too quickly, which I kind of already just spoke about. Third one is giving too much information. All right, so with this example, again, I just asked for 3 moves. Okay, let him figure it out. All right, the second time, I just said faster. All right, I didn't go through every possible option. All right, well, you know, you can do a crossover, crossover, crossover. You can go behind the back. You can spin move. Okay. I gave him a simple instruction, let him do it. All right. Often, especially in some of the more technical skills, you know, shooting especially, we overwhelm players with instruction, and we want them to know exactly what we think they should do. So we tell them exactly where to put their feet, exactly where to put their elbow, exactly where to put their hand. Now they have a lot of things to think about. All right, there's a difference between declarative and procedural knowledge. As a coach, we need to know things. We want to have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. We want to know where common mistakes are and how we can correct those mistakes. And, are we going to teach feet in this way or that way? Do we care about whether the elbow's in? Do we care about this and that? When I teach a triple move, when I teach a crossover, what do I want to see on the crossover? When he goes behind the back, how do I want him to go behind the back? As coaches, we want to have that knowledge. Players don't need to understand that. So there is a YouTube video, or 3, that has, one of the YouTube guys catching, interviews of NBA players talking about how they actually shoot the ball, and then showing videos of them shooting in games and seeing, they don't even know how they shoot the ball, right? They say that they shoot, with their feet right at the basket, but then I can find a clip with them with my feet off to the side. They don't know what they're doing. They don't, and honestly, it doesn't matter. If you ask somebody like Steph Curry, do you shoot with your feet at the basket? And he says yes, and you can find a clip with him shooting with his feet to the side. Does that mean that he doesn't know what he's doing? No. Okay, again, there are several layers to this, but the biggest thing is players, they don't need to know every specific aspect of their shot. They don't need to be able to explain verbally what they do. They just need to be able to do the action. And sometimes verbally explaining it messes with the ability to physically do it. Because now they start thinking about, do I need to have my feet here, or is my elbow in the wrong position? Maybe that's why I had a bad game last night. And then they start overthinking, and now they make mistakes because they're consciously trying to control a movement that they've practiced thousands and thousands of times and have well rehearsed. There's also the difference between the intention and what actually happens because of the situation in the game. I may intend to shoot exactly like this, but the speed of play, my defense, I may have to stop quicker, turn my body a little bit to stop. Maybe I have to shoot a little bit higher because there's a defensive player here. So I may have the intention that this is how I shoot, but the game dictates that I shoot slightly differently. Again, I talked about that yesterday. Why I think Steph Curry's the best shooter is because of the variability of his shots. Again, I assume he does not go out with the intention of shooting every shot differently. I believe he intends and he thinks that every shot he shoots is the same. But if you watch the videos of him shooting, the shots are different. The difference is maybe subtle, but there's differences there. But the intention is the same. And to a certain extent, that's what we're trying to teach with players is the intention, and then put them in practice situations where they can learn to adapt to the situation and the task that they have to ultimately succeed in during a game or perform under. I keep jumping ahead. The fourth one is interfering with automatic processing. Okay, so again, giving too much explicit information. All right, when I was young, I started shooting and I was a pretty decent shooter. The first year that I played on a team. And then the second year I played, we had an assistant coach and, his sons were really good, so everybody thought he was a really good coach. and he decided that he was going to make me a better shooter. And so he came in, he's like, you need to change this, and you need to change this, and you need to change this. And I was not as good a shooter anymore. Because now, every time I went to shoot, the first tournament I played in, I was like 90% free throw shooter. Then he comes in and he wants to change everything. And so instead of having a slight turn, I had to have 10 toes here. And then he wanted me to concentrate on my elbow in. And so now I'm feeling uncomfortable because I'm trying to do exactly what my coach said. And now, as I go to shoot the free throw, instead of just taking my routine and spinning the ball and shooting, I'd have to stop and I'd have to think. And now I'm thinking about my elbow. Where's my elbow? Okay. And then I'd shoot the ball. And now I'm thinking about the wrong thing. There's a consequence to the instructions. Again, the less that I can say, the better. Okay, as little as possible, but as much as necessary. If a player doesn't need to know exactly where his elbow is in space, I don't need him concentrating. Get your elbow straight over your toes so that I'm looking down and I'm lining this up before every shot. That's not going to make somebody a better shooter. And again, similarly, misdirecting attentional focus. So performance is going to improve when your attention is focused on the goal or externally from your body. All right, so something like, if I'm going to teach, so one of you step up. One of you step up. All right. So, on the line. I want you, do you know how to do a squat? Do you know what a squat is? Show me a squat. Okay. So, I don't know if I can use this. So, I want you to imagine, sorry, I'm debating internally whether this is something that I want on video or not. So imagine you have to use the restroom, no toilet. All right? Yes? Go ahead. All right, up. One more time, same thing. All right, so on the second one, it wasn't, okay, you can stand up. Okay, it wasn't that noticeable, but he's starting to get a little bit lower. Okay, so my goal being, and without knowing him, this might not be within his physical capabilities now, but is to get a full squat. Can you do a full squat? Probably not. All right. That's okay. That's unfortunately fairly normal in our society today. Okay, my players are amazed that I can do full squats because most of them cannot. Okay, all right, go ahead. So, the goal being to give them instructions that focus on the goal or focus externally as opposed to just telling them, okay, I want you to bend your knees more. Okay, now, sometimes the instructions don't work. So I said, there's nothing definite right or wrong. It's whatever works. Okay? Sometimes you're going to need to change the instructions, make them more internal, make them a little bit more explicit, what you want. Okay? I want you to drop your, hips inside your knees. Okay? I want you to end, with your hips below your knees. Okay? So there's a definite explicit instruction of where I want you to be. All right, but as much as possible, we want to try to use imagery. All right, we want to focus the attention externally, like I was talking about with shooting. All right, I thought Dave's example of the force field, with Wesley was a good one. Okay, as opposed to, constantly, well, I need your elbow here and the ball has to be here. Again, internal, focused on the body. Okay, just imagine the force field. Okay, he used the glass first, but the force field. Okay, that's a good way of creating imagery, okay, and keeping the instruction external to the body, as opposed to focusing on where the elbow needs to be or the shoulder or something internal. All right? Okay, last thing I'll leave you with. When offering feedback on a skill, we want to consider whether that skill is a poor performance, if it's an inconsistent or it's an unlearned skill, or if it's a poor habit. Okay, so a poor performance is temporary. All right, so maybe, I just took one shot and, I step up and I'm usually a good free throw shooter and I'm not paying attention and I, airball the shot. That doesn't mean I suddenly became a bad shooter. Okay, I just missed a shot. It happens. All right, especially with younger players. Maybe it's an inconsistent skill. It hasn't been mastered yet. Okay, I'm just learning to shoot. One shot's short, one shot's long, one shot's short, one shot's long. It's not consistent yet. Versus a poorly learned habit where for the season I'm a 25% free throw shooter, or I step up to the line and I'm shooting with, crazy shooting technique. Those are 3 different reasons for a mistake. And how we instruct and the feedback we give depends on how we view that mistake. If it's just simply a poor performance, probably don't need to say much. If it's an inconsistent skill, well, that's why we're practicing. I use that phrase all the time with players. They worry about making a mistake. Trying something new, they make a mistake. You can see it on their face or their body language. They're worried about it. It's like, look, that's why we're here. If you'd already mastered this, we wouldn't be doing it. Or if you could do this already, you probably wouldn't be at this level. You'd be at a higher level. Okay, it's inconsistent right now. Okay, versus if it's a poorly learned habit, that's where we probably need more instruction, more drills focused on disrupting that habit and trying something new. Okay, that's where we're going to have to bring back a little bit more instruction. Maybe start over, start from the beginning, build back up.